Stop. Don't scroll. You have been carrying a weight that no one else can see, waiting for a word that hasn't arrived in years. You didn't arrive here by chance. You arrived here because something in your morning today cried out for a word that hasn't been spoken yet. And that word is about to be spoken to you. God sent me here to tell you that the cycle of silence ends today because your moed has finally moved from the future into your present. I know that your exhaustion is not just physical, it is the final evidence of your selection. You wake up every morning with a heavy chest long before the alarm clock has a chance to ring. Your sleep has ceased to be a place of rest and has become a spiritual battleground where the silence of the night feels louder than any prayer you've whispered. You feel as though you are standing in a desert where the horizon never changes. Even though you have been walking for years, you have stopped making plans for the future because you are tired of being disappointed by the not yet. There is an unopened envelope in your mind, a plan you were once excited about, but now it sits covered in the dust of a promise that feels expired. Every time you think about taking a step forward, the erosion of expectation whispers that it is safer to stay still. You are living in a loop where the dates on your calendar are circled, but they pass one by one without the miracle you were told would come. And then there is the silence that follows you home. Your spouse has learned to stop asking, "What happened today?" or "When is it going to change?" because the answer is always the same silence. You sit at the dinner table on a Sunday night, and the weight of being the chosen one who hasn't delivered the change yet feels heavier than the plate in front of you. Your children look at you, and they see a hero, but you feel like a hero who is slowly running out of breath, unable to explain why the atmosphere of the house hasn't shifted yet. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 3 things. First, I will describe where you have really been standing for the last few months, in a way that will finally make the silence make sense to your spirit. Second, I will deliver to you 3 keys of Solomon's wisdom to handle the space between, and when you hear the word moed, you will understand exactly why the clock stopped for you. Third, I will declare 3 specific names over your spirit that will shift your posture from a beggar to a ruler of the promise. If you leave before the 3rd name, you leave without the seal that authorizes your entry into this new season. And there is a 4th thing I will place in your hands before this message closes. Something Solomon left recorded for the child of God who needs to cross the first Monday morning, and that fits into your very first moment of decision. It is not a book to study. It is an instrument to sustain the weight of the loop of stagnant expectation you've been living in. It is what keeps the chosen one from falling when the weight becomes longer than the strength. I will come back to this. For now, stay. You must understand that the delay you are experiencing is not a denial. It is the desert clock of God. Just as a seed must endure the cold pressure of the earth before it can break through to the harvest, your soul is currently being prepared for a divine appointment that is fixed in the heavens. The fruit is ripe, and the royal seal is about to be pressed upon your story. This is not about passive waiting. It is about the transition from the desert watchman to the inhabitant of the promise. Before I deliver this word and show you the bridge that has been built over your desert, I need you to understand that this moment is a sacred appointment, to let the heavens register that you have heard this call and that you are standing in your position of expectation. I want you to comment "present" below. Do this as a spiritual act, signaling that you are no longer hiding in the silence, but you are ready to receive the seal that has been prepared for you. And about exactly this, about that old calendar with the circled dates that passed, about that cold coffee cup you held in silence at 5 in the morning, and the plans you've left in the drawer because they hurt to look at. There is something Solomon recorded. It is a 2-minute key that fits into your daily life, designed specifically for the moment when the weight of the day tries to crush the promise of the night. I will show it to you ahead. Tuck it away in the back of your mind. Hand if you need to leave before the end of this video, because the weight of your routine is calling you back. This instrument is already waiting for you in the first pinned comment, right here below. It is there for you now. But I ask that you stay until the end, because without the context of the revelation that is coming, the key will not work with the same authority in your hand. Stay, because the Hebrew name for what is happening in your desert hasn't been spoken yet. Before I give you the word, I need you to recognize 5 things that are happening to you right now. These are not predictions. They are the fingerprints of the season you are in. If I am right about at least 3 of these, then you and I will know exactly why you were stopped here today. Your spirit is already vibrating with the truth of what I am about to say, because you have been living these signs in the dark, without a name to call them. It is time to bring the hidden things into the light so that the cycle can finally be broken. The first sign is found in the very first breath of your day. You wake up, and your chest feels like it's being pressed by a weight you cannot explain. It's not just tiredness from a lack of sleep. It's the physical manifestation of a spirit that is on constant high alert. You look at the ceiling before the sun comes up, and you feel as though you have already fought a full day's battle. This is not a medical collapse. It is the root of the watchman stretching down into your soul. You are being kept awake because your spirit knows that the door is about to move. But because you have no instrument to govern this state, it simply turns into a heavy mourning. If you ignore this, the weight will eventually become the only thing you remember about your day. The second sign is the dust on your future. You have a plan, a project, or a dream that was once your fuel, but now it sits in a metaphorical envelope that you are too afraid to open. You've stopped circling dates on the calendar because you are tired of watching them pass in silence. The loop of stagnant expectation has convinced you that it is safer to expect nothing than to be disappointed again. What looks like wisdom or being realistic is actually the erosion of your expectation. You are living in a desert where the horizon never changes, and your soul has started to believe that the desert is all there is. But the envelope isn't empty. It's just waiting for the seal to be broken. The third sign is the most painful, because it happens at the dinner table. It's Sunday night dinner and the atmosphere is thick with the questions that no one is brave enough to ask anymore. You look at your spouse, and they are looking down at their plate, carefully avoiding your eyes because they don't want to ask when. Again, they've seen you carry the chosen one label for so long without delivering the change that the silence has become a shield for both of you. You feel the weight of being the hero who is running out of breath, sitting in the middle of the people you love most, yet feeling completely alone in your failure to shift the atmosphere of the house. This silence is the evidence that the cycle has reached its limit. And about that silence at the dinner table that you recognized just now, I've already left the instrument waiting for you in the first pinned comment. If you need to leave before the end, it's there. But stay, because the Hebrew name of what's happening to you hasn't been said yet. The fourth sign is the spiritual sting of the other person's testimony. You open your phone or you walk into your church, and you hear about God answering everyone else's prayers. You see the breakthrough, the new house, the restored marriage, and the healed body. And for a split second, you feel a bitterness that scares you. It's the feeling that God is active in every street except yours. You feel like the vision is stuck in the ceiling while others are dancing on the floor. This is not envy. It is the cry of a spirit that knows it was promised a moed and is watching the clock run out while everyone else moves forward. What looks like abandonment is actually the high-pressure chamber of the chosen one. The final sign is the one you've tried to hide even from yourself. The deep, unshakable recognition that you were called for something far larger than the life you are currently living. Despite the loop of stagnant expectation, there is a fire in your bones that refuses to go out. You feel dangerous to the cycles of your past. You see your parents' mistakes, the generational poverty, or the patterns of brokenness, and you know that you are the one sent to break the lock. The very intensity of the attack you are under is the confirmation of your identity. You aren't being crushed because you are weak. You are being pressed because you are the only one capable of transforming this specific territory. These 5 signs you have just recognized are not symptoms of a collapse. They are the birth pains of a divine appointment. You have been looking at them as evidence that you are lost, but I am here to tell you they are the proof that you have been found. The exhaustion, the silence at the table, and the unopened envelope are all pointing to one thing. And the name of what is awakening inside you is found in a single Hebrew word that changes the nature of time itself. You have been measuring your life by the hands of a human clock, but God is about to introduce you to the calendar of the heavens. Before I show you the instrument that Solomon left for the day-to-day battle of the chosen one, I must give you the Hebrew name of what you carry. because the instrument only makes sense once you know the name of the season. There is a word in the original Hebrew that defines exactly the state you are living in, a word that recontextualizes every heavy morning and every silent dinner you've endured. It is the key that turns waiting into arrival and silence into strategy. Solomon prepared this for the moment when the weight of the day common tries to crush the promise of the night, and you are standing at that exact threshold right now. There is a word in the original Hebrew that changes everything you thought you knew about your wait, and what comes now will explain why everything in your life had to happen in this exact order to prepare you for this moment. Your desert was not a detour. It was the construction site of the bridge you are about to cross. When the name is spoken, the anchor will drop, and the erosion of your expectation will stop instantly. You are about to move from the space of the question to the space of the decree, and standing at this exact threshold, carrying the weight of a loop that has tried to convince you that your time is your enemy. That carrying this burden of expectation alone for one more night is your only option. It is not what Solomon prepared for you. He prepared something else, and that other thing is exactly what I am going to place in your hands right now. This is not a theory. This is an instrument. The Code of Solomon's Wisdom is the instrument that Solomon left for the child of God who needs to cross the common day without losing what they received in the secret place. It was recorded for the one who needs to survive the wait while keeping the fire of the promise burning. When you open your eyes before the alarm clock with that heavy chest, feeling the loop of stagnant expectation trying to steal your breath, you need a key that puts you in posture before the weight of the day finds your morning. When you arrive home carrying the pressure you couldn't unload, the silent exhaustion that weighs on your shoulders, you need an instrument that receives that weight so it doesn't fall on your family at the dinner table. When you're standing at a crossroads and you need to decide, but your weariness is speaking louder than your discernment, you need a staff that reminds you of who you are before you open your mouth to speak. And if you're feeling right now that this is exactly what you need, before I even continue, place your thumb now over the link in the first pinned comment. Don't click yet, just place your thumb. Feel the weight of the decision before you make the decision. Because you must understand how this operates. This is not a method to teach you how to do more. It is an instrument to allow you to sustain more. It does not train you, it covers you. It shows you exactly where the loop of stagnant expectation is acting in your spirit before it turns into a wrong decision or a bitter word. It interrupts the cycle of exhaustion before it can ruin your next first Monday morning. And the next first Monday morning arrives sooner than it seems, and it comes with 2 seals for your home, not for your performance. The first seal is the ritual of the righteous sleep. It's an audio. You don't read it, you lie down. And what you used to call insomnia, today you'll call unsealed vigil. And you'll learn to seal the night with the right name, in the right order, in the right voice. The second seal is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees. 7 short phrases, 1 for each morning of the week, so you don't wake up again without identity, so you cross the first hour of the day with the posture of one who has been sent, and not with the posture of one who has been run over. And this hesitation you might be feeling right now, it isn't doubt about the instrument. It is the loop of stagnant expectation acting inside you at this very moment, doing exactly what it has always done, trying to push you to close this window and stay where it's safe. You recognize this pattern. It's the same one that brought sleep when it was time to pray, the same one that brought a phone call when it was time to read the word, the same one that brought an urgent problem just as you were about to break the cycle. Today it is coming for you again, and the very hesitation you feel is the confirmation that you are at the exact point where the turn happens. The one who hesitates here is the one who most needs to be here. And that is precisely why what I am about to tell you next exists. You have 7 days to use this and feel it for yourself. 7 full days. If in 7 days this instrument hasn't touched what needs to be touched in your soul, you return it. No questions asked, no justification needed. And the 2 seals, the ritual and the decrees, they stay with you even if you return the rest. They are yours, no conditions. But I need to be direct with you. The real risk isn't spending less than a Thursday lunch at the diner. The real risk is your next first Monday morning arriving and you still being empty-handed. That is the risk that has a face. And it is that face I need to speak with you about now. And perhaps you are asking yourself some questions that deserve an answer before we move forward. You might be thinking, I've been waiting for years. Why would this code help me now? The answer is that you haven't been waiting for time to pass. You've been waiting for a key to turn. A long desert doesn't need a longer walk. It needs a different map. You might wonder if a 2-minute key is enough for a 40-year desert. But remember, it only took a few seconds for the seal to be placed on Joseph in the dungeon to change his reality. And you might ask if you really need the morning decrees for your specific situation. If your mornings have been heavy and your chest has been tight, then you aren't just starting a day, you are starting a battle without armor. And yet, if you only want the guide, it is already enough. But the complete house is with all three. I have seen this happen for so many people here on this channel, men and women who for months were waking up before the alarm with that heavy chest, staring at an old calendar with circled dates that had passed in silence. They walked through their first week with this instrument by their bedside, and they described the morning of the 8th day with the same phrase. I didn't wake up on high alert. I have seen people who were making wrong decisions out of pure fatigue, looking at that unopened envelope of a plan they were too afraid to start. They began using the 2-minute key before their first difficult meeting, and they described their posture in the room as the posture of someone who finally knew the name of what was happening. I have seen fathers and mothers who used to come home and discharge the weight of the office onto the Sunday night dinner table, watching their spouse look down at their plate to avoid the silence. They used the 7 decrees in the car before turning the corner to their house, and they described that first week as the first one where my family didn't have to wonder if I was truly there. But I must warn you, if you stay still, the loop remains. Maybe 3 hours from now you will be lying in bed again, staring at the ceiling with that same cold coffee feeling in your soul, remembering that you saw this and you didn't reach out your hand. Maybe on your next first Monday morning, the loop of stagnant expectation will arrive again and you will think, I knew what it was. I just didn't have the instrument in my hand. Maybe next Sunday night you will be sitting at the table and your child will look at you with that quiet disappointment, and you will answer, not yet, because you won't have the instrument to change the atmosphere. And the slow fading of your family's belief in your words continues to arrive with the same alarm clock, with the same coffee, with the same door opening on Monday morning. The link is in the first pinned comment. Pinned just for you. Not for everyone. For you. Whoever needs to cross the next first Monday morning with the instrument in their hand, click now. And when you do, when you open that link, understand that you aren't just buying a book. You are accepting an instrument that Solomon prepared for your common day, and what you are about to understand next when you hear the Hebrew word that comes now will change the way you read everything that has happened to you until this moment. The Hebrew word that defines exactly what is happening to you, the word that bridges the gap between the desert you've walked and the door you are standing before, is a name that the adversary has tried to keep hidden from your understanding. It is time to speak it into the atmosphere of your room, your office, or your car. The word is Moed. Pronounce it with me. Let it settle in your spirit. Moed. In the original Hebrew, Moed is not just a word for time. It is a legal and spiritual designation for a fixed appointment, a sacred season, a divine meeting that has been scheduled in the heavens and cannot be moved by human exhaustion or demonic interference. It is the appointment that God makes with your destiny, a date on the calendar of eternity that was circled before you were even born. This is not a vague promise of someday. It is a translation of a state of arrival. Moed is the moment when the not yet of your prayers collides with the now of God's decree. It describes a posture of heart where you are no longer chasing a miracle, but you are occupying the space where the miracle has been commanded to manifest. When you hear this word, your spirit recognizes it because it is the name for that deep, unshakable fire in your bones that refused to die during the long silence. You felt it in the dark. You just didn't have the name to call it. You called it waiting, but God calls it your Moed. And about this specific word, about this state of being anchored in a divine appointment while the world around you seems to be in chaos, it is written in Psalm 4, verse 8. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Notice that this is not a prayer for safety, it is a declaration of safety. The one who can deity see and sleep in the middle of a desert, the one who can find peace while the loop of stagnant expectation is screaming that the clock has run out, is the one who is covered by the name Diwa Moed. It is not a promise of a future peace. It is the manifestation of a current authority. You don't sleep because the battle is over. You sleep because the appointment is fixed. You dwell in safety, not because you have fought off every enemy, but because you are standing in a territory that is legally protected by the divine seal. This peace is the first evidence that you have moved from the human clock to the heavenly calendar. When you are under the weight of Moedat, the silence of God is no longer interpreted as abandonment. It is recognized as the final preparation before the door opens. Habakkuk 2, verse 3, tells us that the vision is for an appointed time, a moed. And though it seems to tarry, you must wait for it because it will surely come. It will not be late by even a second. The pressure you've been feeling is not the pressure of failure. It is the pressure of the fruit that is so ripe it is about to fall into your hands. You are not waiting for God to decide. God has already decided, and you are simply arriving at the scheduled hour. To understand how this operates in the day common, we must look at Moses, the man who lived the longest not yet in human history. We often see Moses at the Red Sea, but for 40 years he was just a shepherd in the desert of Midian, living his own version of the loop of stagnant expectation. He was a man who once had a plan to save a nation, an unopened envelope of destiny that had been buried under the dust of 4 decades of silence. Moses didn't wake up every morning feeling like a deliverer. He woke up to the same sheep, the same sand, and the same quiet failure of a life that seemed to have expired. He had stopped circling dates on the calendar. He had accepted that he was just a man who had missed his moment. Moses's concrete problem wasn't just the desert, it was the erosion of his expectation. Every day he spent in Midian was a day the adversary whispered that his purpose had passed him by. He was carrying the chosen one label in a territory where no one knew his name. He was the hero who had run out of breath, leading sheep that weren't even his own. He was living in the space between the promise he felt in Egypt and the reality of the desert. He thought he was retired from his calling, that the not yet had finally turned into a never. He sat at the same fireside, night after night, staring into the silence, wondering if God had found someone else to do what he was born to do. But the burning bush was not a random event, it was a moed. It was the fixed divine appointment that Moses didn't see coming. And what Moses received at that bush was not just a command, it was the wisdom to operate in the appointment. He received a listening heart, a way to decipher the voice of God in the middle of the common day. Solomon, looking back at the life of Moses through the centuries, decoded this. Solomon understood that Moses had to move from human effort to divine posture. Solomon recognized that what Moses had to improvise in the desert, God wanted to record as a permanent code for the next generation. Solomon saw that the space between the sheep and the sea was where the instrument was most needed. When Moses stood at that bush, he didn't just receive a miracle, he received a procedure. He was told to take off his sandals, to change his posture, to recognize that the ground he was standing on had been made holy by the appointment. He learned how to receive information from the heavens before he took his first step toward Pharaoh. This was wisdom applied to a crisis. It was the ability to see the invisible bridge that God had built over the 40 years of silence. Moses stopped being a shepherd who was lost and became a watchman who was stationed. The morning after the bush, Moses didn't wake up with a heavy chest. He woke up with a staff that carried the authority of the seal. The turn in Moses' life didn't happen when the sea parted. It happened when his expectation was reactivated by the name of God. The cycle of the 40-year loop was broken the moment he accepted that his time was not his own, but God's. The atmosphere of his life shifted instantly. His family saw the change. His father-in-law saw the change. The silence that had followed him for a lifetime was replaced by a decree. The next decision he had to make wasn't made in the fatigue of the desert, but in the clarity of the Moed. He moved from the position of a beggar for a sign to the ruler of the promise, because he now carried the instrument of the appointment in his hand. And what Moses lived in the desert, you can do right now. Not because you are Moses, but because the key is the same. The instrument that Solomon left recorded in his wisdom is the same one that decodes the space between for you today. It is the same bridge over the same desert. Solomon understood that the child of God doesn't just need a story of what happened to Moses. They need the instrument to survive the Monday morning after the miracle. That instrument, the code of Solomon's wisdom, is what is waiting for you in the first pinned comment right now, to ensure you don't just see the bush, but you actually walk into the promise. Remember that unopened envelope I told you about at the beginning? The plan you were too afraid to start because you were tired of being disappointed. That envelope was never empty. It was just waiting for the name Moed to be spoken over it. You thought it was an expired promise, but it was actually a seed in winter. And as I speak this word over you, the frost of the not yet is beginning to melt. The name you've just received is the name of your harvest season. The instrument that Solomon left is the way you make sure you don't lose that harvest in the first week of the new season. You have been recognized as the one who stayed at your post, and the royal seal is being pressed upon your envelope right now. And now that you have the name, I need to deliver 3 specific things to you. The diagnosis of your calling type, the 3 names of identity that will accompany you through this turn, and the weapons you need to ensure you don't return to the loop. You have the word Modin as your anchor. Now it is time to see the map. We will begin with the type of your calling, because you can only defend the territory you have been assigned to govern. The identity you are about to receive will shift your posture forever. And before I seal the 3 names over you, I need to know which type of calling you are currently standing in, because the 3 names shift their weight depending on the specific nature of your assignment, and the instrument Solomon left applies itself differently to each path. You have been treated as if your struggle was a general one, but God sees the specific geometry of your desert. The loop of stagnant expectation does not attack every child of God the same way. It targets the very organ of your purpose. To receive the seal correctly, you must first recognize the face of the battle you have been fighting in the dark. There is type 1, the guard of the lineage. Your primary focus is the protection of the legacy, the spiritual and generational health of those who come after you. You recognize yourself in this type if you feel a deep ancestral responsibility to ensure that the patterns of the past do not consume the future of your children. You are the one who stands at the gate of your family's story, but because you are a guard, you are being attacked by what Solomon calls invisible leaks. You feel as though you are pouring into a vessel that never fills. Resources vanish just as you are about to build, and your energy is drained by crises that appear out of nowhere. You ask yourself if you are truly meant to build anything at all, or if you are destined to just survive. You feel the loop most when you look at your children and realize the breakthrough hasn't reached them yet. There is type 2, the architect of the new season. Your focus is building out of the desert, creating something from nothing where others only see sand. You are the one with the unopened envelope of a plan that could shift your entire reality. You recognize this type if you have a vision that feels too big for your current surroundings, a blueprint that haunts your dreams. You're being attacked by the erosion of expectation in its purest form. Every day you wait for the Moed to arrive, the adversary whispers that the materials are rotting and the foundation has already cracked. You feel the loop when you realize you've been standing on the construction site for years, but the first stone hasn't been laid because you are waiting for a permission that never seems to come. There is type 3, the watcher of the threshold. Your focus is the timing, knowing exactly when the door moves and having the strength to walk through it. You are the one who spends the night in the space between, watching the horizon for the first light of the divine appointment. You recognize yourself in this type if your greatest pain is not the work, but the wait. You have the discernment to see the door, but you lack the instrument to open it. You are attacked by a specific kind of spiritual silence that makes you question your own senses. You feel the loop most at 5 in the morning, holding that cold coffee cup, wondering if you missed the moment while you were blinking. You are a watcher who has become weary of the watch, staring at a door that feels like it has been welded shut. And about your specific type, the heavens had already sealed 3 names. 3 names that will traverse your spirit until the end of this year, giving concrete shape and contour to your identity when the cycle of stagnant expectation tries to dissolve you into the grayness of the desert. These are not titles for you to earn, they are frequencies for you to occupy. When the world calls you the one who is still waiting, the heavens will call you by these 3 names. They are the coordinates of your moed, and when you hear them, the anchor of your identity will finally touch the seabed of the promise. The first name is the keeper of the appointed time. You are the keeper. This means you are no longer a victim of the clock, but a steward of the season. You are the one who holds the frequency of the moed, even when the calendar shows nothing but empty dates. This name operates inside you by shifting your posture from someone who is begging for time to pass to someone who is governing the time that remains. You are the keeper of the appointed time who refuses to let the erosion of expectation steal the value of the preparation. But you must understand that this name only sustains itself when you have the instrument Solomon left, because a keeper without the complete instrument is just a prisoner of the weight. The second name is the bearer of the royal seal. This name is about your reception. You are not just a spectator of the miracle. You are the one who carries the authority to authorize the turn. You are the bearer. This means that when you walk into a room, the atmosphere of the loop must legally yield to the atmosphere of the moed you carry. The seal is not for your pride, it's for your protection. It tells the adversary that this territory is already spoken for by a divine appointment. You are the bearer of the royal seal, whose presence alone forces the cycle of silence to break. This name reminds you that you don't need to shout to be heard, you only need to be seated in your identity. The third name is the sent one of the 11th hour. This is your final identity for this turn. You are the sent one. You are the one whose arrival changes the outcome for the whole house just as the clock seems to be running out. You are the evidence that God saves the best for the last moment. You recognize this name because you have always felt like you arrived late, or that your breakthrough was taking longer than everyone else's. But the truth is, you were timed for the 11th hour, because that is when the greatest glory is revealed. You are the sent one of the 11th hour, whose testimony will make the years of the desert look like a small price to pay for the weight of the arrival. You are feeling the intensity of what is happening right now, that pressure in your chest that came when I spoke the first name, that heat that rose in your spirit when I declared the third. This is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is the physical proof of your capacity to transform. The intensity of the attack you have endured is perfectly proportional to the capacity of the turn you are about to experience. A weak attack produces a weak turn, but a heavy attack, the kind that makes you wake up at 5 a.m. with a heavy heart, is the evidence that you are dangerous to the cycle that tried to silence you. And the keeper of the appointed time that you are has a vulnerability, a single specific opening that the adversary knows and will try to use against you in the coming days. The vulnerability of the keeper is that a keeper without the complete instrument is just a prisoner of the weight. Without the instrument Solomon left recorded, your waiting doesn't turn into governing. It turns into a prison cell. It is in this specific gap, where you have the name but not the tool, that the adversary enters. He doesn't come with a loud voice, he comes with the subtle erosion of your hope, especially when you face the silence of your next first Monday morning. And what Solomon left for you to cover this vulnerability is not a book for you to study or a theory for you to debate. It is a ritual applied for you to cross your next first Monday morning without needing to negotiate with that whisper of failure. It is the code of Solomon's wisdom, and it exists to ensure that the sent one in you doesn't fall before the door opens. The instrument is there to cover the gap between your identity and your reality, providing the listening heart that Moses used to turn the desert into a highway. The link for the Code of Solomon's Wisdom is in the first pinned comment, waiting for you just as it was at the beginning of this message. But now, with the revelation of Moed and these three names sealed in your spirit, it doesn't arrive in your hand as a digital file. It arrives as an instrument of coverage for the keeper who is tired of being a prisoner. If you are the one who needs to occupy the chair at the head of your own table by next Sunday night, click that link now. Do not wait for the next cycle to begin before you arm yourself. If one of these three names hit you harder, write the number below, 1, 2, or 3. Let the registry of the heavens see where your spirit felt the seal the strongest. And there are still 3 tactics of the adversary, and 3 weapons of Solomon that need to be named before I send you on your way. But before I send you forth, there are 3 specific tactics the adversary will use against the 3 names I have just delivered to you. You are dangerous now, and because you carry the names of your moed, the enemy will try to strike the bridge before you cross it. You have the frequency, but he will try to scramble the signal before the first Monday morning. The first tactic is the poison of the parallel clock. The adversary will whisper to you to look at the timeline of others. He will point to the sister in your congregation who is already married, the colleague who just bought the house, or the cousin who has their life resolved while you are still here, holding an unopened envelope. He wants you to believe that because their harvest arrived first, yours has been cancelled. He wants you to judge your moed by a human schedule that was never yours to follow, making you feel like a latecomer in a race that is actually a solo walk. The second tactic is the translation of the silence. Between the internal yes you felt today and the external manifestation tomorrow, there is a gap. The adversary will take that quiet space and try to translate it as a no. He will tell you that the heavens didn't respond on Friday, the signal didn't come on Sunday, and the confirmation failed to arrive on Monday. He wants you to interpret the weight of the preparation as the silence of rejection, making you drop your shield and stop believing just as the atmosphere of your house is starting to shift. The third tactic is the pressure of the final mile. The adversary knows exactly when you are within 24 hours of the turn, and he will press you hardest in that final interval. It is exactly when the heavy door is about to swing open that you will feel the strongest urge to turn your back and walk away. He knows that if he can make you close the window yourself, he doesn't have to fight the decree of God. He wants you to quit at the very threshold of your arrival, right when the loop of stagnant expectation is at its weakest point. But Solomon left 3 weapons of wisdom to counteract these tactics, ensuring your posture remains firm until the arrival. The first weapon is the voice of the exclusive timing. This weapon operates by reminding your spirit that the heavens do not use a shared clock. It silences the noise of comparison by anchoring you in the specific geometry of your own desert, confirming that your delay was actually your protection. Declare this now. My path is unique, my moed is fixed, and I do not judge my progress by another man's harvest. The second weapon is the registry of the fixed verdict. This weapon takes the silence and reframes it as the final seal of the courtroom. It reminds you that once the decree of moed has been spoken, the noise of the world is irrelevant. It turns the wait into a stationing. Declare this now. The silence is not a denial. It is the atmosphere of my final preparation, and my testimony is already written in the heavens. The third weapon is the permanence of the threshold. This weapon gives your feet the weight of iron when the urge to flee becomes strongest. It turns your exhaustion into a strategic advantage, allowing you to stand still while the door finally moves. Declare this now. I will not close the window that God has opened. I am stationed at the threshold, and I will not move until the manifestation arrives. And these 3 weapons alone are memories. With the instrument, they become coverage, because you must understand. Recognizing the cycle of the loop of stagnant expectation without having the instrument that Solomon left is like receiving a diagnosis without the treatment. It is waking up in front of the problem without the remedy on the nightstand. When you know the name but don't have the tool, you are just a more aware prisoner. When the next first Monday morning arrives and the weight of the same routine tries to crush your hope again, the cycle will ask for your surrender. You need the instrument before, not after. When the next conversation about the future happens and you find yourself reaching for the same old excuses, the cycle will ask for your silence. You need the instrument before, not after. When the next miracle happens for someone else and the spirit of comparison tries to tell you that your time has passed, the cycle will ask for your bitterness. You need the instrument before, but not after. The recognition without the instrument leaves you where you have always been, knowing the name, but without a hand to act. And that is why there is one final obstacle that needs to be named before you say, Amen. There is an obstacle that will appear between this word you have just received and the manifestation of it in your life. It is the obstacle of the fear of appearing ungrateful. It is that small, religious voice that whispers, "Who am I to ask for more? I should just be happy with what I have." It makes your ambition feel like a sin and your expectation feel like greed. But this is a trap designed to keep you from the more that your lineage depends on. You are not being ungrateful. You are being obedient to the weight of your calling. But before I release you, there is one last point. I want you to prepare yourself now. Close your eyes, or at least look away from the screen. Place your right hand over your chest, right over the place where you felt that weight pressing down on you every morning. Take a deep breath. Let the air out slowly and feel the tension in your shoulders begin to yield. This is no longer a lesson. This is no longer an explanation of history or wisdom. This is a prayer of activation. This is the moment where the revelation you have heard becomes the authority you carry. I surrender to you, Father, the exhaustion that has accumulated over these last months and years. I surrender the weight I carried alone when no one else saw the tears in the kitchen or the silence at the 5 a.m. table. I surrender the insomnia I tried to call normal and the high alert I tried to call my personality. I hand over the loop of stagnant expectation that has tried to convince me that my time has passed. I release the unopened envelope of my dreams and the circled dates on my old calendar that passed without a sound. I surrender it all now, in the mighty name of Jesus. I declare that I will not go back to the desert of not yet. I will not retreat into the shadows of disappointment. I will not give up 24 hours before the turn. I recognize now that the pressure I felt was not a sign of my failure, but a sign of my proximity. Proximity to the turn that is manifesting in the next few hours, in the next common day, in the next first Monday morning. I station myself at the threshold of my moed, and I refuse to move until the manifestation of the promise is fully realized in my house. And I receive now, by faith and by the authority of the word, the 3 names that have been sealed over my spirit this day. I receive the name, the keeper of the appointed time. I receive the name, the bearer of the royal seal. I receive the name, the sent one of the 11th hour. I do not receive these names to boast or to feel superior, but to remember who I am when the silence tries to return. I receive them to cross what is coming with these names in my mouth, with these names in my posture, and with these names protecting my heart. And before the voice that comes now, I need you to hear one thing. The intensity of what you have gone through in the last few months is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is not evidence of a curse or a mistake. It is the absolute proof that you are exactly who you always knew you were, someone who carries something large enough, dangerous enough, and heavy enough for the cycle to want to silence you at any cost. You were not attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because your arrival changes the outcome of the battle. You were not attacked by chance. You were attacked precisely where your identity intends to manifest with the greatest strength. The heavier the attack, the more dangerous you are to the cycle. The pressure you felt was not a sign of your end. It was the sign of your proximity, the high-pressure chamber before the door of your moed swings wide. You are only attacked upon what you are capable of transforming. And that transformation is happening right now, in the very atmosphere of your life. If this hits you now, if your spirit is vibrating with the weight of this truth, right below, I received the turning. I saw you. Before anyone else did, I saw you. I saw you on that morning when you woke up before the alarm clock, with your chest feeling like it was being pressed by the weight of an old calendar, looking at those circled dates that had passed in silence. I saw you stand in the kitchen, holding that cold coffee cup at 5 in the morning, staring at the floor, wondering if you were the only one left in the desert. I saw you every time you kept the promise you made to yourself, when no one would have known if you broke it. I saw you in the quiet moments when you chose to stay, even when every voice told you to run, I saw every prayer you whispered, thinking it reached no one. It reached me. I kept every single one. You have never been forgotten. I never lost sight of you in the crowd of the world. I never closed the seat at my table that was carved for you. I never forgot which one was yours, or how long you have been waiting to occupy it. The path you are walking, the one that felt like a circle of dust, ends here. You are deeply loved, not for what you can do, but for who you are in my sight. You have been formed in the secret, and you have been tested in the silence, and you have not been found wanting. You have never, for a single second, been forgotten. What you called abandonment, I called formation. What you called the loop of stagnant expectation, I called the high-pressure chamber of the chosen one. What you called the unopened envelope of a plan you were too afraid to start because you feared another not yet, I called the seed that was waiting for its moed. The silence you endured was not the absence of my voice, it was the sharpening of your hearing. The delay was not my denial, it was the construction of the bridge that will now carry the weight of your lineage. Your name is engraved on the palms of my hands, not as a record of a servant, but as a memory I carry in every breath of my attention. And what I am going to place in your hands next, I placed there before you were born. I have watched you wait, and now I will watch you walk. Go forth from this place. The chair is yours. The heritage is ready. The pride I feel in you has never been withheld. It was only waiting for the moment when you could finally receive it without arguing whether you deserve it. Step into the appointment, and there is a voice speaking right now inside of you. A voice that says, "This isn't for me. This is for someone with a greater faith. This is for someone with more discipline. This is for someone who hasn't made the mistakes I've made. Someone who deserves more." I need you to hear this from me right now. You have permission. You have permission to receive what you did not earn. You have permission to be loved without having to perform perfectly or prove your worth. You have permission to occupy the chair at the table without having to justify why you deserve to be there. You have permission to let the version of you die that needed to suffer in the desert just to feel worthy of the promise. Solomon did not prepare this instrument for those who are already ready. He prepared it for those who are tired. And you are the one who is tired right now. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Before I release you, I want you to walk with me to a room that you have not yet seen with your physical eyes. Do not force the image. Just let it arrive. I want you to take a deep breath and step out of the desert heat and into a space that has been kept for you since the foundations of the world were laid. The air here is different. It is still, it is cool, and it carries the scent of cedar and ancient stone, a place where time does not erode, but where it stands still in reverence. There is a table here, a long and heavy table of dark wood that seems to glow from within. The light in this room comes from nowhere you can identify. It has no single source, much like the light in a dream that simply is. There are people seated at this table. Some are those you have loved and lost, their faces clear and at peace. Some are people you haven't met yet in this life, but your spirit recognizes them instantly. Some are those you knew long before you entered this world. Their faces are not strange to you. They feel like family, even the ones you cannot yet name. And there is a chair near the head of the table, and it is empty. The very shape of you is sculpted into the grain of the wood. The chair remembers your weight. The seat has been waiting for your return, kept vacant through all the years you spent wandering in the loop of stagnant expectation. No one else has been permitted to sit there. It was carved for you and for you alone. It is the place where your heritage is stored, the place where the not yet finally becomes arrival. Solomon is at the head of this table. He has been waiting for you as well. You are not creating this scene, you are remembering it. This room has existed since before you took your first breath in this life. The chair has always been yours, a fixed point in the heavens that the desert could never touch. Solomon is looking at you, not with judgment, but with the quiet recognition of a father who sees his heir finally reaching the threshold. He is holding the seal, and the seat is ready for you to occupy. Don't say amen yet. Sit in this for a moment. Feel the weight of what just happened. Feel the frequency of the names that were sealed over you, the keeper, the bearer, the sent one. Let the atmosphere of that room we just visited settle into the marrow of your bones. The desert is behind you, and the table is before you. Stay in this silence for just a few seconds more, because the heavens are still registering your arrival. Now, you may say Amen. That table where the silence grew, the one the Father just restored to you in your spirit, it is still exposed to the common day. I want you to hear something before you close this video, because there is a phrase the adversary will whisper in your ear in the next 3 hours. I will name that phrase now so you don't fall for it. You have been through a profound shift, but what was sealed here now will be tested in the next first Monday morning. The turn has begun, but the coverage must be complete. And remember the permission you received just a few minutes ago. You have permission for this. You have permission to occupy that chair. You do not need to be ready. You do not need to deserve it more than you deserve it right now. You don't need to have a perfect track record or a faith that never faltered. Solomon did not prepare this instrument for those who had already arrived. He prepared it for those who were stuck in the Midian desert, for those who were tired of the silence. He prepared it for you. The code of Solomon's wisdom is waiting for you in the first pinned comment right here below. It is the bridge Solomon recorded to ensure your identity doesn't dissolve when you step back into your routine. It comes with the ritual of the righteous sleep and the 7 morning decrees. You can have this entire coverage for less than a coffee and pastry at the bakery. Because a sent one of the 11th hour without a practical instrument is a target, and the adversary counts on the arrival of your next first Monday morning to steal what was planted today. This is not a regular expense. It is an instrument of war and a tool of governance. Solomon prepared it so you could cross what is coming with a firm hand, not a hand that is empty and trembling. You have a 7-day guarantee to use it and see the atmosphere of your house shift. The risk is entirely on our side. The instrument is yours to use. If it doesn't do what I said it would do, you return it and keep the seals. But do not walk into the next cycle without your armor. Click the link now. While the decree is still vibrating in your chest, do not wait for tomorrow morning. Do not wait until after you talk to someone who didn't hear this word, because the first person you speak to will have a reasonable opinion that will cost you your instrument. They will speak from the desert, but you are now speaking from the table. Whoever leaves it for later leaves it for never, and the adversary already knows that. The phrase he will whisper to you is, "Just watch it later. Tomorrow is the same anyway." He will whisper this when the first Monday morning happens, because that is exactly the moment the loop of stagnant expectation needs to pull you back into the grayness of the desert. He won't tell you to rebel, he will just tell you to delay. He will say, "Just watch it later, tomorrow is the same anyway," because he knows that later is where you have always lost your momentum. He is trying to recover the ground he lost today in the courtroom of heaven before the next first Monday morning arrives, and you actually use what you received. Today, now, before the next first Monday morning, not later, today. And Solomon will sustain it with you. And now the last word of this video. In the next word I am going to bring to this channel, I am going to talk to you about the secret of the second watch, how to maintain the fire when the initial emotion of the encounter fades. Whoever heard this word today needs to hear that one in sequence. Keep your eyes on this space, because what comes next is not just a continuation. It is the deepening of your roots in this new soil. Click the video that appears on your screen now to continue this journey. And when that happens, and it will happen very soon, you will remember this exact moment. Before you go, I want you to think of one specific person, not a group, just one. The person whose name just floated into your mind when I said that. The person who has been standing in their own silent desert, faithful but exhausted, carrying a weight that no one else has named. Someone who has been coming home with a heavy heart, wondering if the not yet is their permanent home. Send this video to them. They are waiting for this specific word to reach them. And when that person opens this video, they are going to need the same coverage you just received, including the instrument Solomon left. It might be the very key that breaks the cycle for their house as well. The link for the code of Solomon's wisdom remains in the first pinned comment, waiting for them just as it waited for you. It is not a favor you are doing them. It is a service of intercession. And the heavens see every hand that reaches out to another. Comment below, Amen received. and send this video to that specific person who came to mind. It is done. What was delivered here has been delivered. You are not the same person who pressed play 40 minutes ago. You are deeply loved. You have never been forgotten. The chair at the table is yours, and it is no longer empty. The seal is on your story, and the appointment is fixed. Go in peace. Your next First Monday morning can wait another 10 seconds. It is sealed.